Hey guys, and welcome to another tutorial on this my channel. This is Mabel, and in today's video tutorial I will be showing you how to make this beautiful bralette two-piece, which is perfect for summer, stay at home, swimming, or anything that best fits it. And all you need for this piece, including the short, is just 1 yard or 1.5 yard of any fabric of your choice. So do as you please with this video tutorial, but I would love you to watch it to the very end. So let's start. So I'm going to be using this 1 yard of vintage fabric. You can also work with 1.5, and I'm so lucky to get one that is a bit stretchy. Anyone can still work. Okay, so I'll go ahead to fold my fabric in a triangular shape like this, making sure my hand is touching here. Now I'm going to be stopping on those points. You can decide to fold it completely if you want, but I want to be trimming out those rough edges. So I'm going to be stopping on this line here, just the way I am showing you, and I'm going to trim out that excess there. Now you only need two measurements to achieve this bralette. Now you need a measurement that is coming from your under bust to your upper chest, how well you want your bust to be covered. Now it could be 11 inches, it could be 10 inches, and if you're busty, you could go between 15, depends, safer to measure it anyways. So for me, the measurement I'll be working with is 10 inches, so I'm going to be adding extra 1 inch to it to make it more visible, okay? So you could use anything. I'm just using this marker pen because the white chalk is not visible enough. Now from this starting point line, from this apex point, I'll go ahead to measure down to 10 inches. And I will be adding 1 inches to it for my sewing allowance. So I'm going to be marking 11 inches. So now I'll take my tape and mark 11 inches all around. Now this marker pen, I am not indicating it very full because I don't want the mark to really show. Now if you're using chalk, you can make it more visible. But I'm sure with the tape, everything, you are seeing the measurement very well. Now after achieving this, I'll go ahead to cut it out. Now I'm going to use this one I cut out extra 3, so I'm going to be having 4. For this style, I want you to understand that you can actually use two different colors of fabric, so it's going to have like a front and back with different color combination, right? Now basically this is me just placing the first one we cut out to cut out the second one, now meaning I'm cutting like a lining for it. Now I'll go ahead to cut out the extra one. So here I have 4, 2 for each side. I'm going to stitch it from here to here, but before then we're going to be stitching the rope we need to tie it around our neck. And now the measurement I'm going to be using for this is 1.5 inches. Now take it to your sewing machine from the wrong side, fold it into two this way, and then stitch it. Now after that, you go ahead to use a broom or anything to turn it to the right side. And if you don't want to use this turning method, you can actually just top stitch it from the right side. I think I've shown several methods on how to stitch a loop like this on this channel, okay? So you can check it out, or any method you prefer, you can work with it. So this is what I got after I was done, one for each side, right? You can iron it, but there's no need for ironing. I'm going to bring it and open it up this way. Now I'm going to be placing the rope facing downward in this form. Now I'll make sure this point is touching that V point here, just where I am touching right now. Now after placing it very well, I'm going to cover it up with the second fabric. Now you can use your office pin or anything to hold it down just so it's easy for you to handle. Now the same thing I did here, I'm also going to be doing the same thing on this other side. I'll open it up, I'll place the rope facing downward, and I'm going to be using the second fabric to close it up. Now understand that vintage fabrics can be very slippery, so learn to work with your pins. Now I'll stitch it from this end to this point, down to this point, and I'll do the same thing on this other side, down to this other point. Now this is it after I was done stitching it. Now I'll take my scissors and I'm going to be trimming out this edge point here. Now I'll trim it out. You can also notch it after you're done trimming, or it's going to relax very well if you stitch it very well. Now I'll go ahead to turn it to the right side and we'll see what we achieved so far. I mean, for those that would ask if you can insert a bra or ready-made bra cup into this, honestly, it's optional if you want, but if you're following the same method, you would achieve a very good result. And now, those wondering the length I used for the rope, I basically used 30 inches, but I ended up with 29. Now, after this, I'll go ahead to give it a very good press so it relaxes very well. And after giving it a good press, you and I can tell that it is coming together and it's already looking beautiful. Now you can draw a gather stitch here to gather it together, or you can basically just pleat it if you want, but I'm going to be using a gather stitch. Whatever I'm doing here, I'll be doing on the other side. So we're going to keep this aside and work on the band. Now the measurement I used for this band is 60 inches because this fabric is 60 by length, so I'm basically using everything. And the measurement I am working with for this band is 2.5, right? So when you measure it, this is 5.5. Then on fold, we are going to be having 2.5. Okay, 2 inches is what I actually want. Then the other half inch is what I'm going to be using to stitch it. Now, the next thing we're going to be doing is to fold this band into two, just the way I am showing you in this video. Now, you're going to be dividing your round on the bust measurement, and then mine is 7.5 inches after dividing it by 4. I'm going to be adding extra half inch to it for ease, so I'll end up marking 8 inches, right? So I'll go ahead to mark the 8 inches here on this upper point here, and then I'm going to be marking it on the lower here. Now, that point I just finished marking, I'll join both of them together and create a notch there. Okay, so after I'm done with the notching, I'll go ahead to open it up just the way you're seeing in this video. Now I'll close it up again, making sure those two notches are aligning. Now you can use a pin to hold it down just the way I am doing in this video. I'll be repeating the same thing on this other side as well. Now I'll take it to my sewing machine and I'll stitch from this point where I notched all the way here and close it up this way. And I'll be repeating the same thing on this other side as well. I'll be stitching it from this notched point. I'll stitch it all the way down and then I'll close it up this way. So while I was stitching the band, I also drew my gather stitch on this part here on both sides. Now I'm going to keep this aside and then work on the band, okay? Basically, this may give you a closer view of me stitching from this end to this end and then from this point to this other point, making sure that this center part is open without me stitching it. Now the next thing we want to do is to turn it to the right side. You could use anything, but I basically just used my scissors because it is very free now. Now after turning it, do the same thing on the other side as well. So after turning it to the right side, this part where we notch, where we started the stitch from, you're going to notch it, okay, so that it relaxes when you open it up. Do the same thing on the other side, so that when you turn it to the right side, you have these two parts poking out like this. Now, this is me confirming the measurements to be sure I ended up with what I marked out and it is accurate. Guys, we're going to be notching the center of this. Now you're going to be holding it from those 2 points here. Now place it together and create a center notch. Now this is to enable us distribute our bralette evenly or to be able to overlap it accurately. Now after I'm done, each side I'm going to measure from those points to the center point where we notch. I have 8 inches. I'm going to be repeating the same thing on the other side. I have 8 inches and it is accurate because 8 inches was what we marked initially. Now I'll go ahead to draw the gather stitch for this, and when I'm drawing it, I'll make sure I end up with 8 inches, but then because I want it to be overlapped, I'm going to be adding extra 1 inch to it, which is 9. So when I overlap it, is going to balance this way. Okay, so when I'm drawing the gathers, I'll measure it to be sure I have 9 inches. Now this is me taking the measurements and I have 9 inches, so I'm just going to be adjusting it. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Now, confirming your measurement over and over again does not mean you don't know what you're doing. It basically makes your sewing easier. Reason why you see me confirming my measurement. Now, from this edge point, I'm going to be placing it this way. Now, I'll ensure that the bralette, I spread it evenly, and then with half an inch, is going to be passing that center point where we notched. So I'll pass it out with half an inch. Now I'll use my pin to hold it down. Now I'm going to be bringing the second part. Now I'll overlap it with 1 inch as well. Basically just the same way I did for the other one. Now when I overlap it, I'll make sure that this other edge is also balancing on this last point here. Now I'm going to be using my pin to hold it down. After arranging it and keeping it placed, just from this point, take it to your sewing machine and stitch it to this other point. Now when you're stitching it, ensure that you're only stitching on only one side of this. Now remember, I am not picking the both of them. You're only going to be stitching on one. And this other one is what we're going to be using to overlap it, okay? So now after stitching it, this is what it looks and this is how clean it is looking. Now taking it to your sewing machine, you're going to tuck this in and also tuck this other part in as well. Now starting from the center point, you're going to be folding it in with half an inch and then take it to your sewing machine and stitch it from one end to the other end. Now you can use your pin again here to hold it intact so that when stitching it, it's just going to be very easy for you. Now take it to my sewing machine, stitch it from here and onto this other end. Now this is what it looks like after I was done stitching it. Look at how clean it is. Everything is coming together. You can hardly tell which is the front and which is the back part because everything is stitched inside. Now this is me knotting it and this is how we have it coming together. I paired it with a short, and I'm only showing the cutout of this short. I have more than 5 tutorials on how to achieve this short, the same process, the same cutting. Drop the link in the description box, or you can just check out my page to see the videos for yourself. All these short videos are well detailed, okay? So basically all my tutorials are well detailed, okay? So check it out. And I honestly hope you found this tutorial very helpful, and always don't forget to let me know what you think of this video or any of my tutorials you've watched. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, turn on your post notification. So I'll be seeing you in my next one. Bye guys.